listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome. Welcome. You are on Second Wind podcast this morning, and I'm delighted that you're here. You know, the whole purpose of my creating this podcast, and I am Joyce Buford, is that I wanted you to know how to play full out by first getting to know yourself. I wanted to inspire you to dream much bigger than we have a tendency to do in our lives, and to inform you how to get you to a successful and fulfilling second wind experience. Now, as you know, all my guests have had their transitions, their pains, their journeys, just like you and I. And so it's wonderful to hear how they've overcome, how they've played it out in their life. Stay connected and to find support. So I'm delighted that you're here today, and I can't wait to jump into our guest because Liz Thompson is our guest today. And it's just fascinating. I love her area of expertise and just so much about her history. But anyway, let me tell you just a little bit about it, and then we're going to go through together. Armed with a culinary degree and an MBA in marketing combined with over 25 years experience as a pastry chef, a co-restaurant owner, and a product manager in the food industry, she guided clients through all areas relating to food. Liz today has a marketing company, and it was initiated 10 years ago as sort of a side work to a full career in the restaurant business. Once in food, you are automatically connected frequently for help in the many different areas of food business, which led me to believe that this alone could be my full-time career. And so it is. So welcome, Liz.
Thank you, Joyce, for having me on. This is very exciting.
I wanted you to know that you are the first chef that I've ever interviewed.
Interesting. Well, we're people like everyone else. We're just obsessive about food. That's all.
I know, but I loved cooking very early, and I did a lot of cooking when I was younger, and then I kind of waned off, and so I've kind of got a soft spot for the subject today. But I'm going to take another cooking class locally by a chef here in Tyler, Texas. So we'll see what he's got. But anyway, it was fascinating to read your bio. I was amazed at your steps of development in your life. I mean, you started out born in Long Island, and then you went immediately to study marketing in college. So you grew up in Long Island, and where did you go to college?
I went to Emory in Atlanta. I wanted warm weather.
Oh, yes. Well, you got it in Atlanta, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And a new cultural experience. So, yes.
Atlanta is the biggest town I've ever been in. I honestly believe my friend and coach that I went to there, I had to get on that tram and go out to Buku's suburbs. It was quite an experience for me because I was not used to that trams. But anyway, so you went to college and in graduate school to get a marketing degree.
Yes.
And you were working with, now you went back to companies in New York, and you were working with like Chiquita Bananas and Clairol and Ideal Toys.
Yes.
And so you stayed in that business for about how long?
Oh, I'd say about, let me figure this out here, 22, maybe close to 10 years, if that.
Oh, really? And so what was the draw? Because you certainly made a left turn because you switched.
I really, I really, really enjoyed marketing. I mean, that was my whole thing. I was even the president of the marketing association in college, and I just love marketing. I was always fascinated with products and new product development. But in the back of my head, I mean, as a kid, I always baked. I loved to bake, was told, early on that wasn't a career, and I didn't understand
Yes.
that. But, way back when, as a girl, your parents don't look at you and say, oh, of course you can go to cooking school. That's not a thing. You go to college and then maybe you go to graduate school.
Right.
So I went and I had some fabulous jobs and I made, a great deal of money. I had an apartment in New York, had friends, we all had apartments. We were just we were just having a grand old time. But and I was always cooking for, always having parties in my apartments.
Yes.
But the bug to bake and cook was still there and never really, it never really went away. And then one day, to the shock of, I think, my family and everybody I knew, I walked into my job at Clairol one day and I was a product manager. Once again, it was a job I worked very, very hard to get.
Yeah.
And I walked into my boss's office and she started lecturing me again about touch a piece of paper once, act on it, or put it in the trash. She was the
Oh,
epitome of corporate, which was very,
efficiency.
very opposite for me because I've always been, out of the box creative spirit. And
Yeah.
that was the day that I realized I couldn't do it one more day, literally. So
Mm.
that day I walked into her office and I said, I'll be gone by the end of the day. And she,
Oh
I
my.
don't under, what do you mean? I said, I'm leaving, I'm packing up, I'll put everything in a box and I'll be gone. And that's not something that you do when you have a great job like that. And the
Yes.
interesting thing is that I did not have a plan. And what I tell people who are sort of looking into changing careers, or even, even starting out, and I want to be this when I graduate college and I want to be that, my advice is always keep your eyes and ears open, because if you have a plan and you have a road you're trying to follow, you may miss fabulous opportunities where the road
Yeah.
might turn. So always keep yourself open. So I came home that day, realized I quit my job and I still had rent and everything else. And I called every single friend of mine up in New York. And I said, I'm your new caterer. You're going to cater. I'm going to be catering your corporate lunches, your corporate dinners. I'll come in late at night. I'll set up buffets. I'll clean. I'll do box lunches. And then I printed up, got a computer way back when it was like the original Apple, the giant.
Yes.
I made brochures. I walked up and down Park Avenue and I passed my brochures with a little bag, pretty bag of brownies to every single doorman on Park Avenue.
Oh
And lo
my
and behold, I got
God.
hired to do my first dinner parties every Saturday night for a woman that paid me way back when $100 a person, 10 people to just go in, cook in her kitchen, buy the groceries, serve and clean. So
Yes.
that was my first entry into catering, along with my Julia Child cookbook, because at that time I could bake, but I couldn't really cook. But somehow I pulled it out of that special spot that we do. So
Oh,
there's my
I
story.
love that.
And then, yeah,
Did
that's
you have second thoughts or were you just on fire when you
no,
walked
I
out
was on
that door?
fire. I was on fire because I loved that I got to figure out what I was going to do when. I
Yeah.
obviously had to hustle because I had to earn money really fast. And then there was one night about 2 a.m, I had a grease fire and I thought, I was terrified. I thought I was going to set the building on fire because I was in a nice, Upper East Side
Yeah.
dormant building. And that's when I made the decision. I'm either going to go to cooking school and learn how to do it the right way, or I'm going to go back to what I did. So obviously I went off to cooking school in New York.
Wow. Wow. So you did stay, yeah, you went to French Culinary
Yes,
Institute.
yes, I learned
Yes.
classical French cooking. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Then after you completed that, and that took how many years?
Oh, it was
2?
just a quick, it was just believe it or not, it was just a quick 6 month program.
Oh, that's
Full
it?
time. Yeah.
Well, okay.
It's a quick, yeah.
I think it takes longer to go
Yeah, I
French.
did a crash course. Yeah.
Kind of thinking I remember that. But anyway, so off you went with this degree, or did you get a degree or a certificate? And says, and you went from New York to LA, correct?
Yes,
Or
I
did
had
you
met,
stay and continue doing the food, this
well,
dinners?
no, yeah, I got out of marketing and I was given an opportunity to work with Michel Richard, who's a very, very well-known, respected French chef who's passed away a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
He offered me to do a 1 month internship at his restaurant. called Citrus in Los Angeles. So I came out, stayed with a friend, came out for a month, and just, I thought I'd get some, good experience and then go back
Right.
to New York. And then I decided to stay, sublet my apartment, and just really, really, really love the whole food thing that was going on in California, and all the,
Yeah.
all the produce and the farmers markets. And I gave up my apartment, and I moved. And
Wow.
I thought, all right, I'll stay for a year, give myself a year, and I'll go back. And now let's see, my oldest daughter's 24. I've been here over 25 years. So I never went back, obviously.
Wow. No. Wow. Okay. That is really, I'm impressed by your,
It's called ballsy.
yeah, I am. I guess I work a little slower, but I got fire. So,
Everybody is on their own path.
that's right. So you had sort of a defining moment in there where all of a sudden life threw a big hiccup at you and
Oh, yes.
said,
That
okay, you got to play this game differently.
that was,
And
yes. So I came to California. I worked at a hotel downtown as a pastry chef for 5 years. Met my husband, had a couple of kids. We opened up a couple of restaurants in Los Angeles. That didn't work out. So I got divorced. We're still very, very good friends, and we're working on a project together. So
oh,
it
nice.
can be done.
Yeah. Yes.
But
Was
I
he a chef as well
He's
in
a
the
chef, yes.
cooking industry? Yeah.
Yes, he's a chef. And then after that, then I ended up teaching culinary for about 4 years. And then one day while I was working at the fancy food show in San Francisco, I woke up one morning and I couldn't see out of my left eye. And I've always
Mm.
been in perfect health my whole life. Didn't know what happened. Came back, went immediately to the Jules Stein Eye Center for a couple of days. I was diagnosed with a vision condition that sort of came out of nowhere that I was not supposed to have. They said, it'll stay in one eye, it won't go to your right eye. And then it jumped to my right eye, but then it got better. So I basically had to really sit back for at least 6 months and really relearn my skills, relearn how to do things a little bit differently, and figure out, like, okay, hey, I'm very, very passionate about what I do. Food, the kitchen. I realized that I couldn't drive anymore, so I couldn't drive to my job an hour and a half away to teach. So I had to
Oh,
spend time. I had to put together a whole new business plan in terms of
yes.
where are my skills, what can I do at home, and then I realized that, hey, recipe development. I could do recipe development in my own kitchen, and I know all about product development. So I found this niche where people come to me and they say, hey, I want to do an energy bar. So I create the recipe. I source the ingredients.
Oh,
I find the co-packer to manufacture it. I work on the packaging. I work on the distribution. I work on the website. I work on all the areas of marketing. So basically, I sat down for a nanosecond and just really looked at all of my skills that I had developed over the years. And I think that's really important for people that are listening that think, hey, I want to do this thing, but I don't really have experience in that area. But if you sit down long enough and you analyze all the skills that you have from previous jobs, you can learn that you can take all those little pieces and put it into something new and be successful. You don't have to necessarily have experience in a specific industry, but you have skills that could be used.
right. Yes. Have you always been a person that would analyze and think about it and then put it into action?
No,
No?
I was never that organized, but I always kept myself open for opportunities. So if someone would say to me, I need help with this, can you do this? I'd think about it for a few seconds, think to myself, okay, well, I've never done this before, but
Yes.
I can certainly learn. Unless it's,
Yeah.
going to the moon and designing a rocket, we have to give ourselves more credit and have more confidence in our abilities.
Yeah. I find so many people many times when they're faced with a life altering dis um, disease, or certainly loss of a maid, or they don't really think about what they've got. They don't
Right,
think what they've already trained for, the skills that they have.
right,
For
right.
you, what I was so impressed as I read your information here is you actually went out and sought out those people that could help you and support you in
Yes.
the area of your loss of vision.
Right.
I
got,
mean, I
yeah,
think that's big.
I will always, always, always give huge credit to the Department of Rehabilitation in California, because they're the ones that really put me back on my feet, and they gave me the opportunity. I was told, if you put together a really tight business plan, we will give you the money to do it. And
Uh-huh.
they did. I had to learn how to use a computer differently. I got a beautiful computer, laptop, anything I needed. I got 6 months training at home. I got a 7-quart KitchenAid. I got a special Leica camera. I got everything that I needed. And I think they gave me over, I don't know, between $10,000 and $15,000 to get all the tools so that I could really set myself up in business. And they accepted my plan, and I will always credit them for giving me the confidence to go out, and do what I wanted to do, but also, give me all the equipment that I needed. So I hold them completely responsible.
Yeah. Well, not completely. I mean,
Well,
give me
all right. I
trust.
had a little bit of confidence in
Come
myself,
on, come
just
on.
a little. All right. And
Well, I just think that's amazing. I have a friend in Santa Fe that's losing her eyesight. Um, and she is a textile expert, and she travels the world. And you've got, and it's really major, major, major for her because she can't travel alone anymore. And it's just like such a transition for her. She's much older. She's close to 80 now. And so, there are people faced with that don't, she hasn't embraced some of the um, uh, organizations that can really benefit her. Like, she hasn't taken that step you took by
you know
going to
what?
the department.
I'm happy to have a call with her and just, tell her about all the special equipment. But an interesting thing is that I say, it's what's my phrase?
Mhm.
Let your passion define you, not your disability. And I'm grateful because my condition could have gotten much worse. Instead, it stayed, and I think it's gotten much better. But I could sit here and tell you today that my life is so much fuller and
Mhm.
richer than I ever imagined that it could possibly be. And if I wasn't forced to stop and look at the world around me, and I guess that's what it took, because I was, 2 kids in high school and just busy, busy, and I was driving 1,000 hours a week, and I was just working, working, working. And all of a sudden I was home and I realized, wow, I have a trail behind my house. I can hike every day, but I'm so much happier in every aspect in my life because I was literally forced to take the time to look around and see how many things I should be grateful for. Not the
Yes.
loss of one, but I
Yeah.
appreciate everything. And like I said, my life is so much richer, and that 5 years later, I'm in a very, very happy place.
Yes. Yeah. That's awesome. Now, you have how many children?
Two.
Are they in the area with you? Do they support you, or have they gone off and got
Oh,
their
my,
own lives?
my older daughter is in Denver. She recently graduated University of Denver, and she studied opera. And my younger daughter, midway through college, is just home for what we call a little blip. COVID and everything else, and everybody
Yeah.
trying to figure out what's going on in the world. She's with
Yeah.
me temporarily. A blip.
Yeah, a blip. Yes, yes. Blips are happening more and more
Yes,
these
they are.
days.
They're acceptable now. Yes.
They are for sure. We never know what next month is going to bring right now.
No.
Um, so, what is the most interesting thing about your job now, which is brought together your marketing skills, of course, and your planning and working and a whole development of in marketing. What is
Right.
the best thing about where you are today?
Not knowing what my next project will be. I just got a call this week, and I'm working on a proposal. A couple in Kuwait want to come up with a line of healthy snacks.
Ah,
So it's more a matter of learning about, the ingredients that are popular in Kuwait, and what can be sourced in Kuwait, and what's, popular in terms of, protein bars. And it's a whole nutritional line they want to develop. A couple months ago, I was asked to create a vegan honey, and
oh,
I'm not a vegan, I'm not keto, I'm not vegetarian, I'm not, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember asking, what is that? Why isn't honey vegan? And then I was told because the bees have to work hard and they don't get rewarded. So
Oh,
it's always yeah, I never know what new project is coming, and I am, I embrace them all, and I have to do a lot of business counseling and explain to some people how, do you understand the costs involved? And this is not something, this is not an inexpensive thing to start. And if you don't have the funding, then sit back, start slowly on your own, and call me in 6 months. So I've also had to become a real financial advisor as well.
yeah.
So yeah, at the end of the day, I never know what every day is going to bring me and who's going to contact me and what's going to happen. So
So
every day
how
is
do people
different.
find you?
I belong to something called the Food Consultants Group, which is one of the largest food consultant groups in the country. It's also international. So
Yeah.
if someone is looking for someone for recipe development, or an FDA attorney, or food packaging, they just go to Food Consultants Group, and that's how most people find me. But I also have a website, and you can Google me, and tons and tons and tons, Chef Liz Thompson, come up. So people that are looking for food, specifically recipe development, they just, yeah, you plug in recipe development and all things come up.
Do people that know you from the chef world speak to you with Chef Liz?
Well, I go by Chef Liz Thompson on my social media.
Oh, you
But
did?
sometimes I'll have friends that own restaurants that will say, hey, I need a recipe for such and such. I'm having trouble. Can you, develop it for me?
Oh, that's great.
So stuff comes in all over the place.
Yeah, I could see. Well, you mentioned something. I took you out of your message that you were giving earlier, is that I think sometimes we get so overwhelmed with the outside, the world around us, that we sort of sacrifice ourselves. We
Hmm.
don't eat right. We certainly don't exercise. We don't sleep well. We have all of these things, and yet we accept them as life. And it's only when we get the our feet knocked out from under us, or have,
Interesting.
yeah, that we all of a sudden um, start thinking about there's more to life than just work, 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 work.
Exactly.
Right?
That was my
Yeah.
point about, me personally being forced to stop and change things.
Yes. Yeah. So I kind of I went through a grieving period at the first of the year. I'd never been. I had lost people, mother, but she had had a long illness. But this was kind of different, and it could have been with a combination of the pandemic and the loss. I don't know, but anyway, it just kind of knocked me back, and for the first time, I was grieving, Liz.
Hmm.
Now I know that sounds kind of weird for a coach, but
No, not at
I
all.
was. I really had an experience. And I did things like, do I like myself? Do I like what I'm doing? Is there anything I like about it? Am I going in the right direction? And I just came up with the idea that I needed to spend more time with me.
Mm.
Joyce is important.
Yes.
Joyce needs to recalibrate Joyce.
Right. And I
So,
think all, especially as women, we have such a hard time focusing on ourselves and saying, you know what, forget everybody else right now.
yeah,
It's all about me. And we always have a hard time. And you always hear how, we always put ourselves second, but at the end of the day, you put yourself second or last, then the day comes when you're not worth anything to anybody because you didn't take care of yourself.
right. So I know some of that health wise that you're going through. We all can improve our health. It kind of seems funny though that a woman that spends so much time in food wouldn't know that. I'm not picking on you. I'm just kind of highlighting it, right?
Okay.
But we're all
Okay.
like that.
Right.
We just get so busy, and I love my French food. So anyway, so when I called you yesterday and we spoke briefly, you had just finished your walk. So now,
Yes.
what are those things, those personal things that you've incorporated into your life
Oh,
as
sure.
slow down?
Sure, sure, sure. I mean,
Really?
I've always been active. I always ran. I always swam.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so my daily or weekly activities every morning. I hike with my dog either an hour or an hour and a half, and then 3 times a week I swim. And then in between, in between days when I'm not swimming, I do my, my exercises. I've got weights at home, and I've always really watched my diet, watch what I ate. I try to eat a very healthy
Oh,
diet. My whole thing is it's always been about moderation. Don't cut any one food group out. And that's why I have such a hard
right.
time with, vegan and vegetarian, unless it's for health reasons. And I understand people do things for ethical reasons, but I just think I've basically lived a life of moderation. So at the ripe old age of 62, I can honestly say that I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life.
Oh, that's great. So I misspoke when I said you hadn't paid attention because you have always paid
Yes.
attention.
I didn't
I'm
want to
so
interrupt you.
sorry. I
No,
don't
it's
want to take
always
that away from
health. Health is wealth. My mom is almost 96 years old. She lives alone and she drives, and
you.
I guard my health with my life.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is so wonderful. Um, yeah, you've done a better job. But
But
anyway,
it takes work. It takes work. It takes discipline. And I'll go out to dinner with friends, and they'll say, "Oh, why do you watch what you eat?" I said, "It's not about how you look. It's about how you feel and how you're taking care of yourself."
yeah, right. It is very important. And that's the reason so many of us in our older ages tend to have other health issues
Right.
because of that lack of attention. Now, you wrote a book.
Oh, not yet.
Uh, okay, you
Working
did
on.
write a book at one time, but now you're really working on, right?
The other book, unfortunately, fell apart. I was working on a dessert cookbook with a
Yeah,
big
you were
LA
going to.
icon, and the company was bought in between after I had gotten a very large contract from a very large
Oh,
publishing house in New York. And
oh,
unfortunately, with the new owners, it just fell apart. But I am working on my own book about baking with herbs. Is that what you're referring
yeah,
to?
yes.
Okay, yes.
So where are you in that process?
Well, I'm working on the proposal and the recipes, but I've been baking with herbs for the last 25 years, and it's a funny subject. It's something that you just don't see that often. You don't see desserts on menus very often with things like lavender, basil, lemongrass, rose petals. Every now and then you'll see something with lavender, but what I love to do is I infuse either the sugars, the heavy creams, the simple syrups, and I do things like a rose petal shortbread, basil shortbread. I do a lemongrass creme brulee. I do a basil caramel
Oh,
ice cream, an
yeah,
anise pound cake. And basically what you do is if you live in a warm climate and if you have an herb garden, it's just a matter of taking your favorite recipe, taking out your food processor, putting your sugar in, and just throwing a handful of fresh herbs and just processing it. And
yeah.
it's about infusing the flavors into your sugars or whatever ingredients that go into your regular recipes. And it's just really fun, and it's a totally different flavor profile. And most people don't know fascinating things like there's about 150 different varieties of mint, 125 of
Really?
basil. There's orange mint, there's pineapple mint, there's grapefruit mint, there's the lists go on how many varieties of herbs there are, what if you really want to get into the different flavor profiles. But just, yeah, I always
Right.
tell people, just go to your garden, go to the supermarket, order online from a produce company like Melissa's, just get fresh herbs and just play with them. Or
Yeah.
or buy culinary grade herbs, Olive Nation. They're all day long you can find herbs to bake with.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you only use it with your desserts or you also use it with meats?
Oh, sure. I mean, everybody's always, cooked with herbs. That's been going on since the beginning of time. But with baking, it's just, it's something that's not done. For the holidays, I must have
Right.
sent out, I don't know, 500 white chocolate lavender truffles. And all I did is take my basic truffle recipe, which is certain percentage of white chocolate to heavy cream. And I just threw a handful of lavender into the heavy cream, threw it into my pot, boiled it up, let it sit for a few minutes and infuse the flavor, strain it out. And there you go. There are your lavender truffles.
Oh, yum. How have you been able to address the need for less sugar and using artificial sugars
Um,
in your
on
baking?
on the whole, I I try to make desserts less sweet, but it goes back to moderation. And my Instagram handle is Real Desserts, meaning that I'm a big proponent of using real ingredients, real sugar,
Uh-huh.
real eggs, real flour, no gluten-free. In terms of sugars, there's things like, sure, like xylitol out there, but I would just rather put pure ingredients into my body, other people's bodies that are real, and
Right.
just eat less. Don't eat
Yeah.
dessert every day, but there's certainly nothing wrong with having, a cookie every day. Sugar is not the enemy. And I see people drink wine every night, a glass or two or a cocktail, but that's okay. But when it comes to eating dessert, people forget that there's sugar in dessert and there's sugar in alcohol. So,
Yes.
just pick which one you want, but sugar is not the bad guy. Just moderate yourself. There's my health spiel for
Yes.
the day.
I
Yeah.
got it. I got it. I see and I think we're very addicted to sugar as a
Yeah.
society. They played their game well, and we are all love sugar. I love sugar. Everybody loves sugar. And we just don't understand how many foods it's in.
Ketchup. I mean, it's you go to the supermarket and you find sugar in places that it really shouldn't even be.
Yes. Yes, I started reading labels years back, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me? There's sugar in everything. There's always 4 or 5
Right.
grams."
Different forms. Right.
Yes, absolutely. So, um, let's see. One of the things um, that you have been able to do is transition through so many varied changes in your life.
Yes.
Is that because you why do you think you have been able to adapt to that so readily? I wouldn't say easily because I
Right.
think
Right.
it's not easy. It's
No.
not easy when you face certain things,
Right.
but somehow people can adapt. Some people can, and some people can't.
Wow. I have to tell you that of all the interviews I've had on the subject, no one has asked me that. And that's a really important question that I haven't really sat back long enough. I guess I always looked at, you have choices in life, just like you have, you make the choice to be happy or to not. So I guess with my life, I always thought I didn't really have a choice. I had to get the job done. Even something like, when I got divorced and my kids were little and I had to
Mhm,
do a lot of work on my own.
mhm.
I did it because I didn't have a choice. I worked hard because I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be a great example to my daughters to show them, hey, if you need to, you could do it on your own. You've got this.
Mhm.
And I remember when I had first lost my sight and I was going back and forth with, what was it, Social Security disability, which I've been off disability for years because I wanted to go back to work because I needed to make money and I wanted to live and travel. And I
Mhm.
remember I had a disability attorney that said to me, why don't you, this is going to be shocking to you and your viewers. He actually said to me, why don't you just get married and just collect $1,000 a month from the state? And
Oh, no, honey, I live in Texas.
oh, okay. All right. So I had to sit back for a few minutes and I thought, who on earth wants to live on $1,000 a month? So I never gave myself a choice. It was just a matter of, okay, what is my new work cell going to be so that I could make more money than I made before? And
Yeah.
that's basically what I did. But it's just, yeah, going back to your question, I never really give myself a choice and I don't sit back long enough to think, oh no, what should I do? It's a matter of no, here are my choices. So I'm going to do this. I'm not going to stay in bed all day and, bemoan all the terrible things and this, that, the other. No, I enjoy my life. I'm grateful for what I have. And why wouldn't I just want the best of what I can have, by working for it
Yeah.
myself?
Did you see that modeled in your family? Was your mom
My dad was a surgeon. He worked very, very hard
yeah.
and he loved every day of his life and he loved his profession.
Mhm.
And he never bemoaned his job. I mean, he was born to be a doctor, just like I guess I was born and wired to help people, but in a certain way. I didn't want to go into medicine, too bloody for me, but I went into what I thought was the next closest thing, which is hospitality. Think about that. You're caring for people, you're nurturing people
Right.
in a different way.
Right. Yeah.
So I love what I do, and I love, yeah, I love every day of what I do, because like I said, I never know, what's next.
That's true. Yes, hospitality is a lot about nurturing people, more so than the marketing.
Yeah,
And
market,
I
it's
think you
funny.
self-corrected there.
Yes, it's funny. Yeah, because marketing is about, convincing someone why they should buy something, which you could sit back and say, well, that seems kind of opposite from her personality and where she seems to be coming from. But I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated in marketing. I'm fascinated by the process of actually, making the product. And once again, I won't work on a project that I don't think is a worthwhile product. So I'll only work on things that I would personally back myself. So that's how I, yeah, deal with the marketing part.
Okay, that leads me to another question. How do you select the people that you spend time with?
You mean in my personal life?
Yeah.
I I've been, lucky enough to have most of the people in my life are happy people. They love what they do. And a funny thing is that most of my very close friends are in the food industry, and we look at each other. We're long-term compadres. We understand each other. We understand what makes each other tick. But I surround myself with people that are kind, empathetic, and generous. And anyone
Yeah.
that does not sort of fit that mold, I don't want to say I can't run with, but I try. But I try as I've gotten older to keep people away that bring any kind of, not a when I say this, I don't want to sound too California, but negative energy, because once again, I go back to happiness is a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think more people need to do that, particularly more women need
Yes.
to do that. We get into relationships that we stay in for no particular good reason. We just stay because we've been with Susie forever and she's a horrible influence on us, but we've been together since we were two,
Right.
you
And it's
know.
the same thing. I look around, I see one or two friends that are in, bad marriages, and they've been bad for years and years and years. And they stay because it's a comfort zone, even though the outside looking in sees something very different.
Right. Yeah. I think those are difficult decisions for so many making that need to make transitions but do not.
Right.
They choose the easier road.
Right.
Um,
Sometimes,
certainly.
yeah. And sometimes I wish I could shake certain friends and say, you know what, you're going to come
Wake
out on
up.
the other, you're going to come out on the other side better and happier. You just got to, just like Churchill says, if you're walking through fire, just keep walking. You've got to make the decision to do it, walk through it, and then realize that, yeah, there's a whole, no matter how old you are, there's still whatever's left of your life. There's still, there's greater things beyond being stuck in that closed box, if you're
I
willing.
know. Yes. Yes, and that was one of the reasons that I really, as I said in my opening, I really wanted to do this podcast. I'd gone through a divorce and I just felt there was nothing out there to give us transition material,
Mhm.
that said, there's really good stuff on the other side.
There
Just
is, and like
have
I
the
said,
time.
I'm 62. My youngest daughter went off to school a couple of years ago, even though she's back, and here I am, dating at the age of 62, and I am about as happy as can be, and that's a whole other subject for a new podcast.
Okay. We'll have the podcast when Liz moves on.
Yes, to another transition. Yeah.
Another transition. Absolutely. So as we are uh, looking forward to next year, I know you're working on this book, and you hope that's going to be coming out in this year or next year.
I have to, yeah, there's a lot of work. I have to find someone to publish it. I'm working on it, but yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm enjoying the process. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'm spewing all of my recipes and information out on, on different like podcasts with you. And I've done a couple of TV segments on the subject. So I'm just having fun with it. No matter what happens,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we never know which where the road's going to be. Or, I actually started in radio with a friend that I'd come back from Jack Canfield's work. And so I was going to teach how to do business better. And it was so hard to fill those workshops in a small town. So
Right.
anyway, I was interviewing a woman to help me with marketing, and she was interviewing me to be on the radio. And my ex-husband had been in the TV business. So I was kind of like, oh no, radio, no,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I got
attitude.
it. Gotta
So,
start somewhere.
but it's actually been a wonderful transition to go through. And then they canceled his show and I went into podcasting. And it's been such a great journey for me because I love everybody that I interview. Like you, Liz. I mean, it's just absolutely awesome how you've done so much and you keep going.
I think I'm gonna get tired soon.
No, you're not. No, you've got lots of energy. I can see it. So, and you find that there is really a plan to your madness here in sharing your message, because that's also an important interest of yours.
Yes, because I just see so many people or women that are just afraid. They're afraid to take that plunge. They want to change careers. They want to change relationships. They want to do something different, live somewhere else. And they let fear stop them from, a whole world of fabulous opportunities out there. And I've said this to so many people, or I feel sometimes that people look at me as though I'm a science experiment because I've gone through so many different things in my life, but then I keep rolling over and reinventing myself while everyone else sort of stays on that same path, that same road. And then the more I do it, the more I realize that I should really give myself a little bit more credit and that I do have the ability to just start again, and trust my gut. But the big thing is to know in my heart that when one door closes, the next door that opens, and I used to hate I hate the word hate, but I used to just really despise when someone would say to me, you're in a bad spot now, but get through it. When one door closes, another one opens. And now I've lived it several times. And like I said, I believe in that wholeheartedly. And that's just, if you have that attitude, there's really nothing to stop you from trying something new, knowing that the next thing that comes along, will be better. I mean, we've all watched people in terrible marriages that they're so terrified to get divorced, and then they go ahead and do it. And then all of a sudden they're sailing into the sunset with someone new. So right. you got to keep that positive attitude.
Yeah. Now, do you have friends that are of the same belief, or do they kind of look at you as being their risky, their exploratory friend?
Yes, that's exactly it. I have one or two other friends that have jumped ship. I have a friend she's a fabulous cook. She's been catering for years, had a restaurant in Canada, spent 25 years in the film industry here, working 90 hours a week. And recently she jumped ship, moved out of LA and bought a small cafe up towards Palm Springs. So she is my idol, but she's really one of the few people that I've known that has just taken the leap of faith.
Right. Yeah. Which takes a lot of courage. It does, I believe.
Yeah.
You may, in your heart that you can do it, but still there's this almost a wall that you have to go through that says, can I do it? Will I do it? Will it be what I want it to be? But then some people just move through it. They just don't ask all those questions. And
don't think, if you overthink it, and I'm the world's best overthinker. If you overthink it too much, then you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was in college and I wanted to go skydiving, and it terrified me, but I really wanted to go. And I overthought it so much that I got up there and I refused to jump out and I took the plane back down. So don't overthink.
And how did you feel on the ride down?
I was humiliated.
Yeah.
And crushed. I said, never again.
Yeah.
Just do it. It's the old Nike thing. Just do it. If you're going to sit around and think about it forever, you're never going to do it.
True. So true.
And you're going to run out of time. Yeah.
Yes. So what do you try to instill in your daughters that, they look at you and they see all that you've done and are they like you or um do they understand you? I mean, what is that like? I mean, I've got
Um,
one daughter.
I have raised, thankfully, two daughters. They're very different, but I'm convinced in my heart that they're resilient and they're incredibly bright and creative. And I think the lesson they've learned is don't, we all get thrown things in life, and just handle it and move forward and do it with grace and do it without fear. And
Mhm.
I've watched them, and I've seen them, turn into young adults, and they understand the difference of being able to forge forward and watching other people who stay in the same spot.
Yeah.
I have no fears that they won't be able to handle life on their own.
Well, you've been a wonderful model for them. It's just that you haven't
Thank you.
limited yourself, as you keep moving through those veils.
They're wondering when are these things going to stop? And I said, unfortunately, for someone like me, probably never.
What's next, mother?
Yeah, let's hope that it's just a sailboat sailing into the ocean and going scuba diving somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you one of these people that at the first of every year you do goals?
No, no. I decided years ago to not do New Year's resolutions because I figured if there was something I wanted to do, if I hadn't done it by then and I had to wait until the first of the year, I'd never do it. So I guess I try to set goals, for myself during the year.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Uh, I think it's a skill. I think it's a good tool for some people to sit and actually think about where they want to go. So
Right.
many people don't. I mean, for much of my life, I just reacted, you know, reacted to the family thing, reacted to this and that.
Yes, and
And
react to all the things outside you. And I think you mentioned that in the beginning of the conversation. Yeah, we're so
yeah,
involved in all the things that are spinning around us.
yes. So it I think it's a wonderful tool. I haven't used it that much. Every year I keep thinking I'm going to use it, but I would like to develop that skill a little bit more than I have.
You know what I started doing very recently within the last week, and maybe that was a New Year's resolution. For the
Uh-huh.
first time in my life, I went to the drugstore. I bought a composition book, and
Mhm.
every day I write my thoughts in a journal. And I've never done that in my whole life, and I've never been what I would consider very religious or spiritual. And I guess you could say that's my method of planning, because I'm sitting down in a quiet space for a few minutes a day, really thinking about what it is I want to accomplish. And
Yeah,
I've never done that. I've always thrown caution to the wind. And like I
right,
said, I tell people, don't make a life plan when you graduate college. Let life, live life. But
right.
now I'm taking, I'm pulling the reins in a little bit to really take the time to think about what I want for me. Never done it before.
Yeah, I like it. I started writing when I was grieving, and have enjoyed it. Um, but I don't write. A lot of people handwrite. I
Oh, I
type.
handwrite with this. I think it's very important that you're taking your hand to the paper because it's more effort.
Mhm. Oh, well, I hadn't thought of it that way. Maybe that's the reason I shy away from it. I like to type,
Yeah.
but I get it on the paper.
Yeah.
So I like these 4 words that you say, never play the victim.
Ah, yes, that's a big one for me.
Yes.
We could all do it every day of the week, but it serves absolutely no purpose.
And to make a decision like that, where does it start?
That's a personal choice to, once again, to be happy or not. And if you want to spend your life casting blame, you stay stuck, you don't grow, and you never get anywhere. And I think it's life's challenges that are thrown at us. If you embrace them, you grow as a person. Otherwise, you stay in the same place. And I'd rather continue to grow. And it's been proven that, you'll live a longer, healthier life if you grow and you keep learning every day. Even if it's
Right.
just going online and reading something on a new subject every day and teaching yourself new things. It's all in the
Yes.
same vein.
Yes, I love the student thing. I think I'm still going to classes and doing things. It's just part of me.
And
Uh,
it keeps your brain alive. My mom's 90, almost 96, and she reads the New York Times cover to cover every day. And her friends say, "Why do you care what's going on in the world?" And she said, "It keeps my brain alert."
oh, yes. My mother was another one of those longevity women. She lived to be 99 in 6 months. I thought she was going to make it
Wow.
to 100,
Oh,
but she
wow.
didn't. All right, we are quickly approaching the end of our hour, Liz. This has just been so much fun to share time with you. But I always close with 3 questions. And the first one, may I ask these questions to you?
Sure.
Okay. What is the most important action needed to face the fear of transition?
Have confidence in yourself and know that if you put in the work, you'll get the rewards.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a pitfall on the journey when you're forced into transition? What is the pitfall that we each of I think it's different for each of us, but that you might words of wisdom for the pitfalls that we would be
The
challenged by?
pitfalls, I guess, you end up, backpedaling a little and, throwing yourself in that big, big bucket of fear. And it's not easy to get out of that bucket yourself, but just know that if you really, once again, can get past it and really truly in your heart know that you will be in a better place, just pull yourself out of that bucket, because if you stay in that bucket, you're going to stay there for the rest of your life and you're going to miss out on too much good stuff.
Yeah.
But
And
fear, I mean, fear is a very real, fear is very, very real. And it really does take a lot of work to get past that. And that fear is something that all the support in the world from friends and family can't help with, because that's internal.
yes. How important do you think the word believe is in getting to your goal or
A
getting
thousand, 1,000 billion%. And I think what stops a lot of people from getting to where they want to be is that they don't believe in themselves enough and they listen to too many external factors, listen too much to family, friends. You just have to believe in yourself and know that, yes, you might have to go out on a limb by yourself on your own, but in the end, you'll look back and you'll be a greater person and a greater friend to yourself because of it.
yeah. Uh, that just pops up another question in my mind. As a young chef, as a young woman chef, were you ever not, or I guess I'm saying, were you ever questioned or um, put in a position where you doubted your dream?
No, but I knew that I would have some um, blockades, such as some of the men that I work for that didn't really take me very seriously and didn't treat me very well. And I just had to, in my own head, say, you know what, this is just temporary. I'm going to learn what I can from this situation. And it doesn't really matter how I'm treated. I just have to look at this as an educational system. But sure, I mean, in the very beginning, I went from, I don't know, 30 years ago, making 60,000 a year to making $7.50 an hour. But I knew in my heart that if I stuck with something that I really loved to do, it would, it would come back to me. And
Yes.
I stuck with it. No
Yeah,
matter
okay.
how many people said, my family thought I was nuts. We're not very happy that I moved 3,000 miles away from home, but I stuck to my guns. And once again, I sit here today talking to you, and I could tell you that I've loved my career and I continue to love my career. We food people never retire, and I'm at a happy spot because I stuck to my own personal goals and beliefs and didn't listen to
Yeah.
anybody. I'm very stubborn.
I know. I like that. Okay. The final question. What is your greatest success?
I will say my greatest success is my children and being able to teach them that life is theirs for the taking, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Well, Liz, Thank you. I
Thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. I've enjoyed, as I say, I fell in love with every guest. I mean, women are amazing, and you are indeed an amazing woman.
Thank
So
you
thank
very
you.
much. And you
Yes,
are
thank you.
too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here.
All right.
Now,
Thank you again. Yes.
now, listeners out there, you've just heard some great comments from Liz. I would so love for you to take some of this information internally into your body to realize you are the one that determines your future. You're one that builds tomorrow, and you have all the choices inside of you. You have all the knowledge inside of you. You can be whatever you want to be. So I thank you so much for being here. Take this information, listen to the podcast repeatedly, because there's some hidden jewels in here that Liz has shared with us. So, and I want you to really soak all of this in. As usual, that's the only assignment I have for you this week, is just be kind to yourself. Listen to the tape again and again, the recording again and again, because there are jewels for you here. So I appreciate that you come back every week and listen to me. And I'm so anxious to hear the good news that you will share with me. Go to the website, Second Wind with Joyce, and share a little. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you for being here today. I'll see you next week, and have a great week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.